Hi Elvis fans, Tom Brown here, and another edition of Gates of Graceland. And in case you can't recognize the surroundings, I am over the rope in the car museum, but it's okay, it's official. I've got my white gloves. More importantly, I have Angie Marchese, Director of Archives. Thank you for letting me jump the curb.
I tried to keep you out.
Well, yeah, you did.
Hey.
And I kind of brought a camera, so I thought I'd
So
come in.
you're okay, yeah. So we're here for what? Another unseen Graceland, except this time we're talking about Elvis's cars?
This is unseen Presley Motors, really. This is unseen Elvis cars. I mean, the car museum's so wonderful. It kind of always has, you know, a base of vehicles, and then you kind of rotate different things in and out, because I don't know how many cars you have.
We have roughly about 30 cars in our collection, but of course we have records of Elvis buying over 200 vehicles, giving most of those away. You know, Elvis was famous for giving cars away because cars were really kind of a status symbol for him. So back in the 50s, when he first started recording, the first thing that he wanted to buy was his own car. It was used. It was actually a Cadillac, and it burned up on the side of the road not long after he purchased it. But yeah, so cars really were kind of the status symbol that he had made it. So Elvis was a huge car guy, and not just Cadillacs, all different kinds of brands, which you can see here in the car museum as well as in our collection. Would you like to take a look?
Well, that's the thing. You know, we get to walk by, and sometimes doors are open and sometimes they're not. This is a special time. We get to open a door and look inside.
I might let you open a door or two.
Oh, okay. I have my gloves.
You have your gloves on.
What are we in front of here?
This car right here, this probably is one of the highlights of Elvis's first purchases.
I'm going to do that too.
You're going to just touch it?
Yeah.
This is the very first Rolls-Royce that Elvis purchased. 1960 black Rolls-Royce. He bought it in California, had it customized, and then brought it here to Graceland. I mean, when you buy a Rolls, you have to have it customized, right?
Yeah.
So Elvis would own several Rolls-Royces throughout his life, but this was his first. So you know, the first of anything is always your favorite.
Yeah. As I was walking around the car museum, quick sidebar question. We all are fascinated by the vehicles, but my dad was a tire salesman, you know. After he retired from the military, he had a tire store, and he sold. I'm fascinated by looking around. Do you have difficulty, do you look for vintage tires to
We do whenever the tires need to be replaced, but knock on metal, knock on wood. Most of the tires that are on these cars are the original tires that were actually on the cars when Elvis owned them.
See, now tire collectors will come and
look and go, wait a minute, but yeah, that's what we've been told, you know, obviously, you know, we're not all around from that time period, but so we try to keep the cars as original as possible. So if there's little scratches or dings and things like that were here when Elvis was here, we really don't want to get rid of them.
That's
because
the life of the vehicle.
It really
is.
That
was Elvis's vehicle. That's what happened.
And that's what happened. You know, one of the favorite things in the car museum that I love is the John Deere, because it is all dinged up, and that is because Elvis used it heavily. You know,
exactly.
Anyways, so those things tell stories. It gives the cars character.
All right, let's look inside. I know they're going. Open the door.
I know they are. I'll let you do the honors, Tom.
Oh, that's good action.
So here's the inside of Elvis's very first Rolls-Royce.
Look at that.
You've got the dash, you've got obviously the turntable, you've got the RR on the brake pedal. Yeah, little unique things about the car that you just wouldn't think. You know, automatic windows.
For what year vehicle?
1960.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had that technology. And it looks like in the column transmission?
Yes.
Yeah.
So nothing but the best.
That's right. Just vehicles. Kids today, you've just missed the era where, you know, first of all, you had the big bench seat that you slid across if you hit the corner pretty well. And just the space, and it wasn't about safety, it was about beauty.
Really,
you know, that dashboard is gorgeous with the wood and all the silver.
No airbags.
Nah, no airbags. But you do have, anything happens, you've got plenty of space. Yeah. But this is just
all original interior.
And this seems like a really heavy car.
It is. I mean, they don't make cars like this anymore. I mean, a lot of our cars, when you look at them, it's like they're tanks. Literally, compared to today's cars.
What's my miles per gallon on a car like this?
Not very much.
I wouldn't think so. Hauling around.
But then gas back then wasn't, you know, $3 a gallon either.
The thing I love about this is it looks like the kind of car that Elvis can drive and not really be anonymous? I mean, the car itself lends people...
You could see this coming and people would look at it. And that's another thing, that Elvis did drive his cars himself. You know, a lot of celebrities don't. They, you know, get chauffeured around and things like that. Elvis was always the driver. He loved to be in control. He loved to show people his city from, you know, the interstate and things like that. So it was not unusual for him to hop behind the wheel and just take off.
I love the scene in That's the Way It Is, where Elvis is going through the MGM gates. He's driving, Charlie's sitting in the passenger seat, and Richard Davis is in the back seat, and Elvis is driving them to the studio that
Elvis
morning.
is their chauffeur.
Exactly,
Yeah, so Elvis really, I mean, he loved to drive. That was, you know, it was kind of, you know, I guess growing up back then and being able to buy your first car and being such a symbol, that was something that's like, I'm driving you around.
Yeah. Okay, a lot of cars in this
There are a lot of
building.
cars to see.
Look at that. Oh, look at that. That's just gorgeous.
Okay.
All right,
let's head down the walkway here. We're going to head over. I'm going to show you some of Elvis's fun vehicles.
All right, let's go.
Okay, Tom, here are some of Elvis's fun vehicles, like we like to call them. These are the things that made Graceland his big playground, and we're standing in front of his dune buggy.
Yeah, and the first thing I noticed, because we're up on the platform, and when you're walking by, you're down there, I see the gas goes, of course, in the front of the car, because that's what you do, you know.
Do you know what movie Elvis famously drove a dune buggy in?
Drove a dune buggy like an NASCAR driver. Live a little, love a little.
Yes.
I mean, you watch that movie and you wonder how in the world did he stay in that vehicle, because he hit some sand dunes in that thing.
Yes, he does.
He put the dune in dune buggy.
Well, this dune buggy, what is unique about it is that we actually have the check for when Elvis purchased it in the late 60s. And he bought it out in California.
Yep.
And the funniest thing is that 2 weeks later, we have a second check, and it's for $700 worth of repairs to this dune buggy.
Well, he enjoyed having the dune buggy.
Yes, he did.
He went around Memphis looking for dunes. And the other thing I noticed, no doors. You're just
no doors. You do the whole Dukes of Hazzard thing. You just climb right in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of comfort in here either. Just
it's definitely a recreational vehicle. Nothing for leisurely drives around Memphis. That's for sure. It does have a back seat. Barely.
Barely, yeah.
But you could climb somebody back here. And I bet you Elvis packed this full as many people as he could and drove it around Graceland.
And then got back and saw how many people he had left.
Exactly.
Because they were losing people.
Yeah,
probably.
left and right. If you want to walk around here, Tom, I want to talk to you about another really inconspicuous vehicle.
Really.
You know, if Elvis was trying to drive around town and not be noticed, he would definitely not be taking out his super trikes.
This is amazing. This is just, it's hard to think of this as a motorcycle hybrid. It looks like from here it's a car. If you looked at
it has a trunk and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, so yeah, this is one of 3 super trikes that Elvis had custom made right here in Memphis at a shop off Lamar Avenue.
Oh, wow. You know, looking at all these vehicles like this, what do you do to store a motor vehicle? I mean, I think about all the stuff in the engine and gasoline and oil and everything. What's the status of all this?
Well, all of these cars can still run, but because of Tennessee law and things like that, to have them displayed here inside a building, they have to be completely drained of all of their fluids. So, of course, antique car owners don't cringe at that. We understand that to keep a car going, you need to have it lubricated, but because of the display laws, we have to have them totally drained. That doesn't mean that we can't lube them back up again and start driving them again.
That's right. You have to, as an archivist, you have to make the decision between, you know, the collecting of cars and the displaying of Elvis cars.
Exactly.
It's a, you know, a fence you have to kind of straddle.
You have to kind of, maneuver along. There's also another super trike over here if you want to take a look at this as we walk by Elvis's pedal car. Did you realize that this was a pedal car?
You know, I was up here earlier. You were close. I was up here. Yeah, you were around. And I was looking, it's like I used to have a little car like that when I was about 4, you know, that you do this with your feet. Yep. And this one, same thing. It's a pedal car.
It's a little pedal car.
With a handbrake.
And on the hills of Graceland, do you think Elvis used the handbrake?
Oh, maybe when he got to the street.
Maybe. Just to stop.
Daddy, open the gate. I'm coming
right through. Yeah. And this is another one of our super trikes. Like I mentioned, Elvis had 3 that were custom made. One of them currently is on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland.
Oh, good.
So
glad to know Elvis is up there. He should be.
Yes, Elvis is represented in all the major music Hall of Fames, as you probably have seen as you go around.
That's right. Yeah.
So this is a 3rd.
Love this, and I love these little little foot holders for
your passenger.
For the person that is brave enough to sit behind Elvis.
As he's driving this down Elvis Presley Boulevard.
And looking at it too, this is one of those kind of easy rider, you're like doing this.
Yeah.
You're
relaxed.
Low
You're
rider.
kicking back.
Yeah.
And again, this is a car that you would probably look at the car first, and then as it drove by, you'd be like, oh wait, that was Elvis Presley.
That was Elvis, yeah.
Yeah, Elvis is driving around.
And the photos I've seen of Elvis, and people always think he was in the mansion, he didn't get out. Really, he was tooling around Tennessee and Mississippi, and if you were out at the time, he was out there.
Yeah.
But the beauty of Elvis being able to be on a motorcycle is he put the helmet on, and he gets to be
incognito.
He gets to be normal.
Unless he's driving something like this.
Unless there's just that part of him that still had that, well, I don't want to be that anonymous, you know?
So out of all the cars in the car museum, probably the most famous car that we have on display is the Pink Cadillac. Would you like to go take a look?
Let's go. Let's go. Oh my gosh.
Watch your step. We're headed downhill.
No handbrakes.
Here she is.
That's it. Oh, just the beauty.
And guess what I have?
What's that? Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at that.
The original keys to the Pink Cadillac.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
They still open the doors, too.
I'm gonna think door. Look how small they were back then.
I know.
Look at that.
You would think that they would break.
Yeah.
You know, because they're so tiny. And this car it's like you have such a huge car, and the keys
it's out of proportion with the size of this. In the 60s growing up, everybody had the big cars, but this is truly the biggest vehicle, one of the biggest vehicles I've ever seen up close like this. It's amazing. And quickly for everybody, tell them the story of why this is here.
Yeah, this is a 1955 Cadillac Fleetwood. It's a 60 series. There was actually a little over 18,000 of them made, and they cost a little over $4,000 to buy brand new when Elvis purchased it. It originally was blue. Elvis had it custom painted pink, and he actually used it for touring. Believe it or not, this is how the guys would get around. They had equipment that they'd strap to the hood of it, to the top of it, and they used this car for touring.
You know, and also as a fan looking at it the hundreds of times I've camped out here and looked at it, these are not rearview mirrors.
No, they're spotlights.
Side mirrors.
Yeah.
They're spotlights.
There's
a little handle in there.
And something else that's interesting about this car is that you see that what looks like futuristic gadget on the dash.
Yeah, it looks like a radar detector or something.
It's a dimmer switch. It detects lights coming on and it will dim your headlights.
Now, why don't we still have that?
I have no idea. Now you have to do it yourself.
Now I'm left up to the jerk I'm meeting in traffic to turn his lights down.
Exactly.
And back in my day, too, you had it on the floor, the little toggle button on the floor that you'd hit with your foot to lower the light.
So that's what that is.
Wow.
The other unique thing about the Cadillac, which probably Elvis really loved, is that this series of Cadillac was one of the first to have a 250 horsepower engine in it. So it had some power.
Yeah.
Again, not really good on the gas mileage.
I was thinking, but gas is, 10 cents, 15, 20 cents or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
You get that, and that's nothing.
Well, and what happened with this car in particular is that Elvis was touring in the 50s, and Scotty was driving, and it had a wreck over a little outside Texarkana. And so while they were getting it repaired, Elvis had bought another car for touring, and once this came out of the shop, he gave this to his mom.
Okay. See, in some, we take the legends and we merge them. It's like we think Elvis bought this for his mom and gave his mom the keys. She couldn't drive. So
she never had a driver's license.
Yeah.
So the only people that drove this car, besides the guys when they were touring, would have been Vernon or Elvis. Well, you want to use that key and unlock it and take a look?
Okay, we're over on the hidden side, and the key's in the thing there, and that's historic. We got that right. We got me opening these are the keys right here. Did I show you that? Look at that. Again, with the lots of room and the metal dashboard and padded on top.
Yes.
No air conditioning.
Yeah, actually, guess what? You see this back here?
Elvis customized it and had air conditioning added, did he?
This is air conditioning.
What? Okay.
So the cooling is all back here in the trunk, is where it's kept.
Wow, they didn't really care about weight or anything back in the day, did they? They just
You know how much this car weighs? About 5,000 pounds. It's a tank. And this tank actually just came back from London not too long ago.
You keep the windows rolled up because there's a big ocean there.
It went overseas to London. It was seen at the O2 exhibit.
I can imagine people in Europe, they just think of America and Elvis, and they think of Pink Cadillac. You know,
they do.
And
Cadillac
it's such an iconic thing to take over there.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Elvis, it's like there's certain things you think of. When you say motorcycle, you think of Harley Davidson. When you say Memphis, you think of Graceland. And when you say cars, you think of Cadillacs.
Yeah. That's a part of the rock legend. Elvis wrote the book on being a rock star, but the one thing that most rock stars you don't hear about, giving away cars.
Giving away cars.
He owns
Elvis
that.
He sure did. And if you were a friend of Elvis's and he didn't give you a car, that was unusual.
Yeah. And you were telling me too, sometimes he would give it to you, but sometimes he would take it away, but he took it away for a good reason.
Yes, Elvis would do the car pass around, I guess. He would say, hey, George, give me your keys. And he'd give those to Richard and give George some new car keys. So
go down and pick one out.
Go down and get you a new car. Happy birthday, you know. And of course, the famous time that everyone wonders about is if it was a true story that Elvis actually bought a Cadillac for a lady that was in a showroom, and that story is also true.
That legendary that she's there looking at this car that obviously she cannot afford this vehicle.
Right, and Elvis goes up to her. She was African American, and Elvis goes up to her and talks to her, and they hit it off, and they're talking about the car, and he asked her if she likes it, and she said she does, and he hands her the keys. Well, I want to use these one more time because there's one more thing here on the car that I want to show you.
We're gonna crank it and drive it out?
No, but follow me.
Oh, okay. Takes you a while to get from the front of the car to the back of the car.
This is a long car.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to open the trunk.
Wow.
Now, there's your cooling system.
There's the cooling system with the tubes. I noticed as I walked around the car, the tubes that send the air to the front of the car and kind of
filter the whole car.
Yeah.
But the other unique thing about what's in this trunk is this is the original spare tire for the Cadillac.
Right there.
Right there.
And never been used.
Never been used.
Wow.
Yeah.
I seem like when I'm with you, I spend all my time going, wow.
Wow. It's funny because there's a couple other car people that say when they were with me, they're always under the car.
Yeah. There's so many different angles too to Elvis's career that draw people in. You know, classic car collectors, auto people love Elvis because of what you've done with the vehicles and how you've maintained them and how he maintained them, and what I love is they're iconic to us, but to Elvis they were just his.
They were just his cars.
Let's go to the gig.
Yeah.
Scotty, you drive.
Scotty, you drive. DJ, you drive. I'll catch some Z's here in the back. You know, oh, Mom, here's your car. You know, we have home movie footage of Vernon and Gladys the first time it snowed here at Graceland, driving the car around the front. And actually having a little bit of a snowball fight and eating the snow.
That's where Gladys could drive it around. She didn't need a driver's license.
Vernon drove it.
Did she?
Vernon drove still.
She still didn't.
She still didn't drive. Vernon drove it. Yeah. But this is funny because this is the kind of car you could take to the drive-in.
Yep.
And you got paid. You had to pay by the number of people that were in the car, not the number of people you could fit in the trunk.
That's right. Back in the day. Back in the day, go see an Elvis movie. How would you? Here's a contest. You go see an Elvis movie at a drive-in in this car.
That would be amazing.
That would be an amazing contest that will never exist. Well, you know, on the way over to this iconic car, we passed another car that I love as a 70s Elvis guy, the incredible Stutz.
You want to go take a
look? Let me
go
back and see that.
Yeah, we can go back and see that.
You've already taken the keys away from me for this one. Here it is, the iconic black Stutz. This is probably my favorite Elvis vehicle, and as I'm up here looking, I see the spare tire on top of the trunk.
Yes. Unfortunately, the trunk is actually tied to a button in the glove compartment. So as you see, there's no way to open it without having to push the button, which means you need battery powers. Or I would gladly show you this truck as well. It's quite amazing. So this 73 Stutz Elvis buys in September '74.
I feel like I'm used car shopping. You're trying to sell me, and I'm going to buy this one.
Sell you.
You don't have to hard sell me on this one.
Do you want a Stutz?
You know what? I'll take this one as is.
You know, he paid a little over $20,000 for it. It's one of several Stutz that Elvis actually owned. The unique thing about this car is that if you run the numbers that are on the side of the door, it's supposed to have black leather interior. As you can see, Elvis customized it yet again. Not only with the red leather interior, but all of the gold trim that you see inside the car.
Oh, yeah.
This car actually is completely functional. We recently had it completely restored a couple of years ago, and it made its debut at the Speedway in North Carolina. You know who drove it?
I do know who drove it. I'm a fan of NASCAR, and you got the most iconic NASCAR driver to drive one of Elvis's most iconic cars. Dale Earnhardt Jr. drives this car. But there has to be a part of you thinking, I've just given the keys to Elvis's Stutz to a NASCAR driver.
Yes. And
they have heavy feet.
They do have very heavy feet. And this car's got some pickup, believe it or not. And, you know, Dale loved driving it. Of course, he's a huge Elvis fan, so it was a great honor for him.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, this car here is actually completely restored inside and out. Well, the inside's still original, but as far inside, I mean, under the hood.
And this was an everyday car for Elvis, too. I mean,
it was. Can you imagine driving down, you know, the streets here in Memphis and this car pull up next to you?
Well, it was either Isaac Hayes or Elvis if you were in Memphis in the 70s.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
This also was the last car Elvis drove.
There's that iconic photo of Elvis at the Gates of Graceland in this car.
Exactly, taken on August the 16th, after he returned home from the dentist. You know, so this was the last car Elvis drove, which kind of, if you start going through Elvis's car history, cars had a cycle. You know, he would buy them, he would drive them, he would give them away or trade them in for newer cars. There were a few exceptions, obviously the Pink Cadillac's one of them. But for him to buy this car in September of '74 and still be driving it in '77, we have to determine that this was one of his favorites.
And not his only Stutz, though. He had bought Stutz's earlier, right?
Oh yeah, his first Stutz he actually purchased was ordered by Frank Sinatra. But Elvis showed up at the dealership the same day the car showed up. And Elvis left with the car that day, kind of charmed his way to owning his first Stutz.
Yep. Elvis knocks Sinatra off the charts a couple of times, and then he knocks
and then he steals his car.
Then he takes his car.
This is one of the centerpieces of our collection.
Well, thank you so much for letting me look at this one. And like I said, this is one of those cars that when you think of Elvis, and you think of Elvis in the 70s, you think of this car. You think of the Stutz.
Yes.
Yeah. I've actually even met some people that have named their dogs Stutz.
Oh, really?
Because of this car. So
because of this
very
car.
Cool. Yep. Well, Angie, you've got so many vehicles.
There's so much more we could see, but you know what? Car Museum Part 2?
I got it. We'll do it.
All right, deal.
You're on. All right, everybody, you heard her. We just decided on the spot. There's going to be a Part 2 with more vehicles, more from Presley Motors and Angie. I'm Tom Brown. Thanks for watching Gates of Graceland. We'll be back real soon. I'll see you later.